James Kaufman, World News Report today, November 11th, 2024. God bless you and yours, no matter where you are in the world. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell for critical future updates. FEMA hurricane scandal, larger than thought. D.C. was directing officials on the ground to ignore homes with Trump flags. These instructions were coming straight from the top, as I thought may be the case. U.S. Representative Greg Stewart, Republican, Florida, tells Fox News that D.C. was directing FEMA officials in the field to skip homes with Trump-supporting flags. Last week's news broke that FEMA official Marnie Washington ordered her staff to avoid assisting homes with Trump flags in their yard in Florida following the aftermath of recent Hurricane Helene and Milton. It was thought that Marnie Washington wanted the hurricane victims to suffer for their support for Donald Trump. The story broke after a whistleblower came forward with text messages revealing FEMA official Marnie Washington ordered relief workers to purposely skip over homes in Florida displaying Trump signs or Trump flags in the aftermath of the hurricanes. I think it's time that we charge Ms. Washington and get her sworn in, get all of her correspondence and her phone, and find out who really gave her this initiative, as this is criminal. It's really time to break FEMA up, period. On Monday morning, Representative Greg Stewart, Republican, Florida, told Fox News that this was not an isolated incident. It was likely happening all over the state of Florida and North Carolina. Representative Stewart also suggested these criminal acts by FEMA were taking place all over any of the impacted areas. This is a serious accusation Republicans need to investigate immediately. Representative Greg Stewart, quote, "If this was happening in Lake Placid, it's happening all across the great state of Florida. It's probably been happening in western North Carolina, probably happening all over the states that were impacted by the hurricanes. And that's why we in Congress need to get to the bottom of it. The FEMA administration wants to say this was an isolated incident, but there is alleged text messages from Washington, D.C. to the supervisors advising them and directing them to do just this. So somebody higher up with FEMA was advising people on the ground to do this. So if that was happening in Lake Placid, I can guarantee you it was happening in other places across the great state of Florida and the country. And the Oversight Committee needs to get to the bottom of this immediately. And the first stop would be the person who was fired. Put them under oath and ask them who is in their chain of command, who is directing her to do this. Confiscate all of her correspondence and her phone. Let's get this going.
Certainly, if it was happening in Lake Placid, it's happening all across the great state of Florida, probably happening in western North Carolina, probably happening all of the states that were hit by Hurricane Helene, and that's what we in Congress need to get to the bottom of. The FEMA administration wants to say this was an isolated incident, but there is alleged text messages from Washington, D.C. to the supervisor advising them and directing them to do this. So somebody higher up within FEMA was advising the people on the ground to do this. So if it was happening in Lake Placid, I can guarantee you it was happening in other places all across the great state of Florida and the country. And the Oversight Committee needs to get to the bottom of this. And the very first stop would be the person who was fired, put them under oath, and ask them who in their chain of command was directing her to do this.
That'd be some interesting testimony. You touched on this a moment ago. Ron DeSantis, your governor, sent this out on X. The blatant weaponization of government by partisan activists in the federal bureaucracy is yet another reason why the Biden-Harris administration is in its final days. Did you reflect on that at all, that last point there, coming off this election?
Well, that's the other great thing about that. Yeah, that's the great thing about these election results is Donald Trump's going to be president in a short couple of months, and we will get to the bottom of it because somebody in his administration will take over FEMA and will do its own investigation after the Biden-Harris administration is out of there. So we'll get the answers at some point, but I want to know how high up these decisions went, and every single person in that chain of command that was involved and or responsible for directing people who work for FEMA to not give FEMA aid to Trump supporters is absolutely atrocious.
Well, it appears FEMA did the right thing and terminated this individual. Had they not, we may never know the truth about it.
No, good thing for the whistleblowers who had the courage to come forward. Gosh, this is some heck of a news person here on Fox. Not. We need to find out who gave her orders and who they received their orders from and how high this went. Did it go all the way to the Biden-Harris administration, as I'm sure that it most probably did? Ladies and gentlemen, these people, well, this is criminal and they need to be charged as such. Just another example of abuse of tax dollars, the dollars that we give the government by the Biden administration. There's so many of them. It is, well, there are too many to even list anymore. This is a rogue administration. And there's a good possibility they all need to be jailed. God bless you and yours. Please share, subscribe, and always remember, anything's possible in the bizarro world.